Hey everyone, good afternoon. All right, folks, we have about 5 minutes until our start time for this afternoon's webinar. Before we get started, I did want to go ahead and share this pre-training survey link with you. So before we get started in the content of today's session, please take a few moments to fill out this pre-training survey. We would very much appreciate it. And then we will get started in about 5 minutes. Hello again, everyone. For folks that are just joining, we have a pre-training survey link here on the screen to get us started with this afternoon's Goalbook session. We're going to start our session in about 3 minutes, so please take a few moments and complete the pre-training survey that's on your screen. All right, everyone, welcome. Good afternoon. This is going to be our Goalbook Toolkit training. What you see on the screen for those just joining is our pre-training survey. Because we are at the start time for this session, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I will include this link again in my follow-up email, which will also include a recording of today's content. So for some of the leaders that are on, I saw you, Michelle. I saw you, Nancy. I didn't know if you wanted to speak or say anything before I get started. Okay, so jump in if you guys want to share anything. So for our session this afternoon, it's set up as a Zoom meeting. I just want to cover some housekeeping things. I will also be sharing some resources, session materials with you, such as the Toolkit, Scavenger Hunt, and Toolkit User Guide. Those will be shared later in today's session through this link here. And then we will also be sharing a registration code with everyone to start creating your Goalbook account so that you can start getting hands-on time in the tool. For our Zoom webinar today, you can activate closed captioning if you need to. That's on your Zoom toolbar. The CC icon will allow you to activate closed captioning. I see some of you have found that and have activated it. So I'll leave this up here for just one more moment for those that need to activate closed captioning. And again, this session will be recorded. So all of the content that we cover in Goalbook Toolkit this afternoon will be shared with you via recording and an email. Also, with our Zoom webinar meeting this afternoon, some of you have also found the ability to turn on your camera. You also have the ability to unmute, or you can chat directly into the chat box. So those are just a couple of the ways that you can communicate with me today and ask questions throughout our webinar as content is shared. Before we dive into the content, I wanted to quickly introduce myself as the presenter for this afternoon. My name is Allison Casada. I am based in Houston, Texas. So I've been with Goalbook for 7 years, supporting implementations with Goalbook Toolkit specifically. Previously, before my time in Houston, I was based in San Francisco, California, supporting our Northern California partners. And then prior to my time at Goalbook, I was a classroom teacher. So I taught K-5 special education resource in Dallas, Texas, and then in Phoenix, Arizona. I was also an RTI intervention specialist with Pearson Education in San Antonio, Texas. So I appreciate you joining me this afternoon. I'm excited to share Goalbook Toolkit with you and walk you through creating a legally defensible PLAF and measurable learning goals and monitoring those goals using Goalbook Toolkit. As I take you into Goalbook today, I will be modeling how I would support my student, Madison Wells. So Madison, a 10th grade student on my caseload. As her educator, I'll be going through Goalbook Toolkit, creating a drafted present levels statement for her, clearly identifying her strengths and needs. I'll also be utilizing some of the baseline assessments that are in Goalbook Toolkit as data points in my present level statement. And then I will be going into the learning goal side of the tool to create a measurable goal for Madison. So as I go through all of those components, again, you have the ability to unmute yourself. You can also chat in directly to me. So those are two of the ways to communicate and ask questions in today's session. Before I jump over into the homepage, I want to point out some of the things that I will focus on for Madison and give you all an opportunity to read through this student profile. So before we jump in, let's take a moment to independently reflect on this student profile. I'll give you guys about a minute, and then we'll go over some of the key takeaways together. So take about a minute and read through this student profile for Madison. So some guiding questions have just appeared on the screen. As you're starting to go through this student profile and reflect, go ahead and chat in. What are some strengths that Madison has? And what are some areas of need? All right, I see a strength that's being mentioned as reading fluently at grade level. What about areas of need? Yes, so we have a data point around comprehension. I also appreciate that somebody pointed out she's struggling with reading long texts. Making inferences. Yes, she needs visual cues. So thinking about accommodations. Another accommodation pointed out breaking up assignments or chunking. Yes. Also potentially some support with behavior, needing help or support staying focused. She prefers a small group setting. All right. So all things that I will keep in mind as I go into Goalbook Toolkit to support my student Madison. When I am specifically focused on creating the present level statement for Madison, I'm going to consider some of the factors that you all just mentioned. What are her areas of strength? I know that fluency is an area of strength and comprehension is her area of need. I can also see from this snapshot here where she qualifies for services under the category of specific learning disability, specifically cognitive conceptualization. And then some of the bullets on the right-hand side, these are my bullets that help to personalize my present level statement and my goals. What are some strategies I know to be working for my student Madison? And what type of modality does she prefer to get text in, or what supports does she prefer? So some of those specific bullet points are going to drive and help me personalize the content that I put into Goalbook Toolkit. So let's go ahead and go in together. Again, I will be modeling how I would support Madison using the tool. And then after I walk us through together, I am going to share a link to help you register for your own Goalbook Toolkit account and start to explore the tool. All right. I've switched over to the homepage now. I'm going to briefly go over how the homepage is laid out and how you can navigate to different parts of the Goalbook Toolkit website. And then I will specifically be going into the blue buttons in the middle of the homepage here as we start to develop an IEP for Madison. On the homepage, you will see that it is chunked into specific sections. In the Learn About Toolkit section, you can navigate to recent updates, upcoming webinars. This links you to our webinar website, which lays out our year-round free webinar training. So just some other training options beyond today's session. And then we've also recently activated on-demand training, which are self-paced videos and tutorials. Most of our time spent today will be here in the Explore Instructional Resources section. In just a moment, I will take us into all of these buttons to create our IEP. Before I do that, I want to just point out some of these other areas on the homepage. Your saved content. Here you'll find your library and your favorites. Your library is where you will create student folders to store edited student information, such as present level statements, any assessments that you're using for that student, learning goals, as well as your strategies and accommodations. Last but not least, at the bottom of the homepage here, you will see browse by subject area. So let's say that you only support your students with math and you can go directly into math. If you are looking strictly for behavior and social emotional learning content, you can go into that domain. This will help you navigate quickly into targeted specific areas, but it also helps you to see the wide range of content that Goalbook can support your students in. Let's jump back up here to the middle, explore instructional resources, and I'm going to start us off by going into the present levels wizard to create a present levels statement for Madison. When I select the present levels wizard, I'm going to start by entering some student-specific information. Here is her name, and here is her enrolled grade level, which is 10th grade. And then I'm going to zoom in on this section here. Goalbook is going to provide me with a list of several different areas that I can include in my present levels drafted statement and start to expand and personalize for my student Madison. So I know from Madison's student profile, she qualifies in the area of reading for reading comprehension. And so I'm definitely going to select reading. Let's say she also qualifies for math calculation, or she needs behavior or vocational skills support. So you can select any areas with the check boxes next to that area, and that will be incorporated into your draft where you can edit and personalize those statements. To keep things streamlined for today, I'm just going into reading, but wanted to point out that it's simple and easy to add some of these other areas as well. You'll notice that there are areas such as pre-academic skills, reading, writing, and math, alt academics for our mod severe students, success skills, which is going to be executive functioning skills, behavior, social emotional learning, related services, functional and life skills, and vocational skills. Again, reading is selected, and now I'm going to develop a present level statement for Madison. The toolbar up here at the top, you can tell is hyperlinked as I hover over these specific sections. This will help me navigate back to add more areas. Here we're in the area of reading, which is now bolded. And then as I add areas in reading, it's going to be creating a drafted present level statement in this window here, which we'll view in just a moment. I can see that there are reading skills listed. And next to each skill, there is a green add button so I can start to edit a template that is pre-created for me in Goalbook. For my student Madison today, I'm going to add fluency and comprehension specifically based off the information that I have from her student profile that I just shared with you. So for fluency, let's add that area of strength first. Madison is a 10th grade student, and here it pre-populated to 8th grade, which is when our state standards stop addressing the skill of fluency. I know that she's reading at grade level, fluently at grade level. So in this case, I am going to select that she's mastered that skill. When I toggle to the mastery level, I'm given an editable text box. You'll see that you're also given an assessment. So here are some fluency passages to assess that skill within reading. Also within the editable text box, it is going to give me a word correct per minute range that is bracketed. So I know that this is an area that I need to edit and personalize for my student Madison. And as I edit the area in parentheses, I just want to make any adjustments. So her exact word correct per minute range is what I would input there. And after I've made those edits, I want to remove those parentheses. You will also see some probing questions that are specific to the skill of fluency. You can choose to use those as a guide to personalize this statement for your specific student. You can share them with other stakeholders or educators that are also supporting your students and get input and feedback for your present level statement. So these are just a guide. Once you are done with those statements, you would want to delete those out. And then below, you'll see the assessment resource that Goalbook is providing. All of our assessment resources you can download as a PDF. You can open with Google. Opening with Google will give you an editable version of these oral reading fluency assessments. There's also a green button to save just the individual assessment. For example, I have a folder in my Goalbook library labeled reading assessments. And so if I am assessing multiple students in the area of reading, I might be saving those assessments there. So you would highlight the folder and save to the reading assessments folder. You can also see that a student folder for Madison is already created, or you can have the option to create a new folder. Because we've selected mastery, this will show as a strength for Madison. I also want to add comprehension. So here next to comprehension, there's also a green add button. And by adding that skill, it is now going to populate in the draft that I'm creating for this particular student. Madison is at a 10th grade student. However, that student snapshot that I just took a look at said that her comprehension level is actually at a 7th grade level. So this is where I would toggle to her functioning level. You may have noticed that the editable text box has now changed. And so it is giving me normative ranges for Lexile and DRA for students functioning at a 7th grade level. I am also now provided with an assessment that is at a 7th grade level, so I can assess my student Madison at her functioning level. And again, I will have probing questions, but this time specific to the skill of comprehension, asking me about strategies that are supporting my student Madison with that targeted skill. I'm just going to make some quick bullet points below. Of strategies I know that are supporting my student Madison. And then when I come back to edit this later on, I'll turn those into complete sentences and incorporate them in my drafted present level statement. Again, there was an assessment provided. And so what you'll find as you're navigating through Goalbook is there are over 140 baseline assessments and observational tools for behavior, as well as academic areas. And you can use those baseline assessments to incorporate data into your present level statement. As I continue to scroll, you'll also see that Goalbook is going to provide me with a template for her impact of disability statement, which I also want to incorporate into my present level statement. Based off of her student profile, she qualifies for services in the area of specific learning disability, cognitive conceptualization, which I can select the box here. Please note that you can select more than one area if your student qualifies for more than one area. For purposes of today, I'm just selecting cognitive conceptualization. And I, again, am given an editable text box to personalize this piece of my present level statement. As I click into my impact of disability statement, you're going to notice, again, there's text in parentheses. And so each time there are texts that appear in parentheses, that is the portion of the text box that I want to edit first and personalize for my student. Anything in the text box is editable, but this will be my starting place. As I make those edits, I'm going to keep what applies for Madison and remove the text that does not apply, as well as remove parentheses. I'll select done when I'm finished making those edits. And now I have that draft that's started for me. Before I navigate away from this page and show you a preview of the draft, just want to pause a moment to see if there are any questions here for the strengths, needs, and impact statement for my present level statement. Okay, I'll continue to check the chat, and also remember that you guys can unmute yourself. I did want to share, just for sake of time, I have pre-created a statement where I answered it more in depth some of those probing questions that I shared with you in the box. So this is a more completed draft for my student Madison. You'll see that I can copy all of the text that is here into my IEP. A lot of times I see this text copied over into a Word document first and cleaned up there, and then copied over into an IEP, whatever your preference. You can also go back and edit this statement. What I appreciate about this view is that Goalbook really provides me with a checklist. Did I include everything that I needed to in my present level statement? Did I identify an area of strength? Did I identify areas of need? Did I include my impact of disability statement for those areas of need? So those all caps headings there providing me with that checklist. And then here in that section, comprehension, which is her area of need, I've answered some of those probing questions to make this more student specific. Again, this was based off of the snapshot. Read alouds are increasing Madison's understanding of unfamiliar grade level vocabulary to support her comprehension. She prefers working one-to-one and with a peer buddy. So that was included in those probing questions. What strategies are helping her to make progress? Yes, so I see a question in the chat about using the present level statement for students that are older. So our 12 plus students, where you might be using our vocational section of present levels, which I pointed out earlier. So we do have built-in hands-on exploration time where you guys will be able to register for your Goalbook account and explore Goalbook and explore some of these other sections that you're wanting to see, such as that vocational area supporting our older students. So once you have selected the areas of need in your present level statement, you'll notice that this drafted view of my present levels has multiple tabs. And so what you'll find there are aligned assessments and aligned goals and strategies. So at Goalbook, we call it the golden thread. We are applying everything back to, or tying everything back to that present level statement. The assessments that were used, so that present level statement is data driven. The aligned goals and strategies linking back to the areas of need that we've identified in our present level statement, all listed here in this tabbed view. Before I navigate away from this page, you will see that there's a notification up here at the top that a student folder has been created for Madison. Goalbook does not auto save, so you do want to save your content to your student folders. And so you can see that I have done that. I've created a student folder for Madison that will now appear in my Goalbook library so I can get back to this present levels draft that I've created. The green save button will appear on every page in Goalbook. So that is your way to save your present level statements and the goals that you create for your students. So I'm going to navigate home. And I've just gone into the present levels wizard. The next step will now be to select learning goals for my student Madison. Based off of the drafted present level statement I have just created, I'm going to select the subject area of reading. And then specifically, I can select comprehension literature, comprehension informational text. She's a 10th grader. So this is her enrolled grade level. And now it's going to ask me what type of support she needs to access grade level content. Based off of the present level statement, Madison is about 3 grade levels behind with the skill of reading comprehension. From the drop down here, I can choose less, some, or more. In this case, I'm going to select some. Support is needed. And then I'm going to get resources or suggested learning goals for this student. There are 18 suggested learning goals for that student's area of need. On the left-hand side, I do want to emphasize creating access to grade level content and this level of support dial, which I've highlighted here. This level of support dial is how you are going to scaffold your learning goals for students that are not functioning at grade level, and in some cases may be significantly behind grade level. Here I have toggled to some support needed, and you can see that the middle dot on the learning goals that are pulled is shaded, and that the approaching level of the goal is being displayed here. That's the text that's displayed. For my students that are significantly behind grade level, I can slide the dial all the way over to more. You now see that the third dot is shaded and the developing level of that goal is pulled. So it is scaffolding the goal based off of my students' needs and how much support is needed. Madison is about 3 grade levels behind, so I have toggled here to some, and I'm going to start to edit the approaching level of the goal. Before I select a tile, I just want to point out that there are blue tiles and there are the light gray tiles here. So these blue tiles are going to be essential standards or priority standards for the selected grade level. These are typically the most assessed standards and skills. These are also our skills that are taught year round. And so here on this first tile, you will also notice that there is an arrow icon in the bottom right-hand corner, which means that not only is there a learning goal on that page that I can edit for my student, but there are also progress monitoring assessments available. So here I'm going to select Cite Textual Evidence. It automatically opened the approaching level of that goal. I can toggle between the 2 other levels in the tabbed view here that are available. Goalbook is going to provide me with an annual goal that is editable. So within this text box, I will see in parentheses a place for my time frame. In some cases, this is just a date. In some cases, it is more district specific, stating by the end of 36 instructional weeks. So whatever the district requires is what you would want to put there for time frame. The next portion of that goal is going to be how the content is presented to the student. So after text to speech is read aloud at grade level, and grade level informational text, and she's given a short excerpt, I'm also going to see a place for her name. Similar to the edits that I made in my present levels draft, I'm starting to edit all of the areas that have parentheses around the text first. 3 out of 4 claims on 3 of 4 progress monitoring assessments. So my specific criteria. Within the goal here, you will see those 4 components of measurability. So here, again, my time frame, the input of information, the student behavior, and my form of measurement. Also within the goal, you're going to see embedded UDL strategies. And so that yellow highlighted text are strategies that are being suggested to support this goal. I'm going to keep read aloud and text to speech in there. I know that those are strategies that are currently being used to support Madison based off of her student profile. as well as chunking. So here again, I'm going to keep this strategy in here. These are linked to pages that are already existing in Goalbook that will show you how to use the strategy to support the goal. Below the editable goal, you can copy all of the text that is here and put it again into a Word doc or directly into your IEP. And then something new that's recently been added are these quarterly objectives. Because not everybody needs quarterly objectives, this section is automatically collapsed, but you can select it to see the 3 quarterly objectives where that annual target is now broken down into short-term learning targets where you may present them within a 6 to 9 week grading period. For students that are significantly behind grade level, I would recommend that you start with quarter 1 and then build to quarter 2, quarter 3, and so on. Those quarterly objectives also editable. Checking the chat to see if there are any questions. I don't see any yet, but let me know as I go if you have any questions. Last but not least, the progress monitoring resources section here. So that arrow icon on the tile that I selected let me know that there were progress monitoring resources on this page. Also, in the specific criteria portion of this goal, it states specifically 3 of 4 progress monitoring assessments, and those are provided for you here. So here are those 4 progress monitoring assessments with my Lexile and word count information. The full resource is 18 pages. This is just giving me a preview of that resource where I have my passage. And here it is asking the student to underline one piece of textual evidence, and the student is given the excerpt of the text. And so the important thing to emphasize here when looking at these is these progress monitoring assessments are written to match that annual goal exactly as written. These are also downloadable as a PDF, or you can open them with Google. Just below that assessment collection for progress monitoring resources, you will find a data collection sheet. The data collection sheet is going to have the goal text pre-populated in that text box and a blank page. Again, you can download this resource as a PDF, or you can open with Google and make edits. When you open the tracking sheet with Google, you can type directly into it when you're using those assessments and then your notes as well. All right. Still not seeing any questions on the chat, so I am going to assume that we are good to continue. Because I have made edits to this annual goal, I'm going to save it to my library folder for Madison. So now in her library folder, I will have a present level statement that I've started to draft, as well as this learning goal for her annual goal. Also on this page, you will notice that the standard is listed here in the blue box. And then just below the standard, you will find the standard staircase, which is the vertical alignment of this standard. At the top of this page, this is the hyperlinked click path to show you how I was able to navigate to the reading goal. Reading, comprehension, informational text, grade 9-10, and cite textual evidence. I'm now going to use the static toolbar up at the top to navigate back home. We have so far drafted a present level statement, and then we've selected a learning goal here in the personalized learning goal wizard. That is the most common way to search for learning goals, is this feature right here, the personalized learning goal wizard. You'll notice that there are two buttons just below that with blue icons as well. You can navigate to learning goals also by using the browse learning goals or the learning goal index. When you go into browse learning goals, this will give you the drop-down menu. So here you notice that no filters were entered prior to searching for the goal. And here it gives me the ability to browse everything, and I can even browse by standard or keyword. So let's go into, so since I know that there are some folks on that are supporting 18 plus, let's go into transition. So here you will find goals that support college exploration, adult school services. This is also where I like to point out that for our students that are older but maybe lower functioning, here are social, emotional, and daily living skills as well. Transition actually last week just received these blue pages. So blue pages, again, are the pages that I just shared with you for reading. These are the pages that have those additional features such as progress monitoring assessments aligned to an annual target. These are also the pages that will start to receive objectives. So transition is one of the subject areas that is slated to get objectives next and more progress monitoring resources. I'm going to select this one first, that developing a personal budget. You will see that I can toggle between grade level, approaching, and developing. I will get an annual goal. There are several areas with parentheses within this editable text box that I will want to personalize for my student. I also see that there is a highlighted strategy that is suggested here within the goal. And then just below that, you'll see progress monitoring resources and a data collection sheet. Something else that I want to point out as I'm toggling between these different levels of access for our students is that as you toggle between grade level, approaching, and developing, not only is the goal changing, but the assessment that is provided is changing and the data collection sheet is changing. There we have our standard listed verbatim. And then above all of our standards, we unpack the standard and put it into parent-friendly language there as the core purpose is what we call it. So this is transition daily living skills for grades 9-12, develop a personal budget. Let's go back to browse. And I want to share another area with you. Behavior. Let's do 10th grade. So filtering for behavior, 10th grade, there are 41 suggested goals here. And I just want to browse what some of these are: to promptly start a task, to monitor emotional transitions, analyze feelings of conflict. You'll see that blue tiles are presented here as well, meaning that there is an annual goal with progress monitoring resources and objectives. Explain consequences and emotions. So while we are in browse and the drop-down menu is open, I've shared 3 content areas with you, but is there any area that you all wanted me to select while we're going over this whole group? dyslexia. Sure. Within dyslexia, you can select from grades K through 12. You have the level of support dial. Your categories within dyslexia are going to be reading comprehension, phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, written expression, and spelling. I'm going to filter for 10th grade. Select the first tile here. Notice that dyslexia does not have the blue pages yet, like what we've been exploring. Within dyslexia, I've selected one of the gray tiles. Here, I will have scaffolded learning goals that are my annual goals. I have a grade level goal, mild level of support, moderate level of support, and intensive level of support. The yellow highlighted box is going to take me to progress monitoring data collection sheets for this dyslexia goal. Yes. So I'm going to go to browse. So some folks asking for high school gross motor, and those are really going to be mixed. And so here in OT, you can see walking safely around a campus. So probably manipulating tools, materials is what you're looking for. Adaptive PE is another area. You can see some of the categories such as locomotive, stability, tools and equipment that a student might be using. And while we are browsing some of the other areas in the dropdown, I just want to share this area here, success skills. I mentioned it earlier, executive functioning skills. But again, critical skills that help students transition from school to the workplace, such as organization, time management, self-awareness, self-management, decision-making, those can all be found in success skills here. Okay, I'm going to take us back home. I've just gone into the present levels wizard, the learning goal wizard. We've also now looked at browse. I do want to share one more way that you can search for goals, and that's through the learning goal index. The learning goal index is our version of a browse all. And so here you can see all of the content is bucketed into specific categories. If you're supporting students that are deaf, hard of hearing, these are the suggested areas to find supports for that student. If you're just supporting ELA, here are some suggested areas for ELA. Transition, birth to 3, blind VI, dyslexia. So what I really appreciate about this view, and this view might be helpful as you're navigating Goalbook for the first time, is that when the content is bucketed in this way, you can start to see the overlap in certain areas. So within behavior and SEL, I see that there is emphasis on social awareness. I also am going to find that there's emphasis on social interactions in this category of autism. You'll also see that there is the skill of organization that's going to overlap in autism and success skills. So here, this view is a good way to see where there's multiple areas across different categories in Goalbook. So that is the learning goal index view. I also want to share with you the UDL strategies. We have already browsed some of the strategies. Those were the yellow highlighted words within our learning goals. You can also create a filtered list for the strategies that you select for your student. Here I have selected the strategy wizard from the homepage. I'm going to now select reading. Within the area of reading, I want to select the barrier for my student. And so Madison, we've been focused on reading comprehension for her. Grades 9-12. So this may take a moment. Here we go. There are almost 400 strategies within Goalbook. And so here, based off of what I've entered, there are 96 results, and then I can filter by type of instruction and her instructional setting. Let's say this is when she's working with peer buddies in a small group. So you can further filter. And as you scroll through the 64 strategies that are pulled, you will probably come across things that you are already doing to support your students. And as you come across something familiar like a Venn diagram here, I can see in the bottom right-hand corner a number 3, and this just tells me that there are 3 editable resources on that page. So I'm going to select that one. And in that ready to use resource section, here are those editable resources. Just below that, I'll find implementation tips on how to utilize this strategy, some cross-curricular examples, and then related strategies. If I see something that I want to use for my student Madison, so I see this one here comparing and contrasting, and I know she's struggling with those higher order comprehension questions. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to save just this resource to her folder, and I'm going to do that by clicking the green save button next to that resource. Madison's folder is selected because it's the last folder that I saved to. So I've now saved that graphic organizer to her student folder. I'm going to use the toolbar one last time to go home. You can also browse strategies. So when you browse, here is where you would type in a keyword. So I have not entered any filters this time around, and I might be typing in a keyword such as a schedule. And so if you remember from Madison's student profile, there was a visual task schedule that she was utilizing. And then this is going to pull all of the strategies that populate with that word schedule. And again, 48 are on this list. Lots to explore here on the strategy side of things as well. Let me save the visual task schedule to her folder quickly, and then we'll go to her folder in just a moment and I will show you how to share. So I'm going to save this to Madison's folder. So the two buttons here with the purple icons, this is how I would navigate to my UDL strategies. In the library folder here, this is where we've saved everything today for our student Madison. Browsing the library folders, you can see that I have created student folders. I've created assessment folders. I've also created co-teaching folders. Once you have everything saved for a student in a folder, you'll be able to view it by category here. So if you have downloaded individual resources, those are here. Any present level statements that you've drafted, those are going to be in this section. Goals that you've saved and strategies that you've saved. In the top right-hand corner of Madison's folder, you will see a Share Folder button. When I click on that link, it gives me the ability to create a link to then share this folder with someone else. The most common use case for this is when a student is rolling off of your caseload and onto someone else's caseload. But you might be sharing folders prior to an IEP meeting. You might be sharing folders with other stakeholders that are supporting the student. So this is the ability to do that. When you copy a link and you share it with someone else, most common way to share is through email. If the other person you're sharing with has a Goalbook login, then they will be able to copy that folder to their library. So that's the view that you can see here. And you can also remove access and make a folder private at any time. If you share with folks outside of Goalbook, so they do not have a Goalbook login, then they would get read-only view of this folder. And so any resources you were wanting to share, those would need to be downloaded and attached to the email where you're sharing that link. All right. Any more questions before I navigate to the login slide for you all? Okay. So we are in the process of creating accounts, but you'll notice that there is a tiny URL link here and you can navigate to that link. I'm just open up what that looks like and I'll share it again. When you navigate to that link, it gives you the ability to register for Goalbook just by completing these fields here. So I believe most folks have not been given a login yet. So please go ahead and use that tiny URL link to register and start browsing Goalbook. We have about 30 minutes left in our session to register and for you all to explore and ask questions. Oh, yes. Give me just a moment and I will include that link in the chat. All right. Oh, sorry. Give me just a second. That one's missing the T. Okay. The link I just chatted in should work. So Again, use that link, please, to register. When you click on the link, it will look like this. And then the password you're creating is going to be a personal password. And if you're having trouble, please let me know. I'm going to chat in the link one more time. All right. So as you guys are working on that, I just wanted to give some guidance for our work time. So I'm going to share also our folder of resources for today in the chat. This was mentioned at the beginning of our session. So that tiny URL with our folder of resources is now shared. I want to share with you what is in there. So when we started our session this afternoon, I mentioned that there was 2 resources I would be sharing with you, the Toolkit Scavenger Hunt and the Toolkit User Guide. So those have now been chatted in. The scavenger hunt here, this is fillable. So once you download it, you're able to type directly into it. And then the user guide is just a visual walkthrough. I've clicked on the scavenger hunt first. This is a helpful next step when you are walking through Goalbook for the first time, or you can utilize this resource when preparing for an upcoming IEP. It walks you through step by step from creating a present level statement to selecting your learning goals, to selecting the appropriate level of access for your learning goals, and then selecting UDL strategies. So steps 1 through 6 will take you through Goalbook Toolkit the same way that I have today. And then the user guide here, this is our visual walkthrough. This also takes you through step by step using the buttons on the home page. So follows the same click path that I walked you through this afternoon. So those are the 2 resources in the folder I just shared. If you need me to share it again, I'm happy to do that. There's also a recorded overview in there. And then again, in my follow-up email, I will be sharing this specific session's recording. Once you are set up with your Goalbook Toolkit account, here is a kind of step-by-step of the Goalbook Toolkit scavenger hunt and what you might want to explore first when following the steps on the scavenger hunt. It's going to guide you to go into the present levels wizard, then the personalized learning goal wizard, and then the strategies. If you do want to spend your time in one area and start saving content to a folder, you can certainly do that as well. Or if there's anything that I need to model live in the tool, I'm happy to jump back in.
So I apologize. How do I register my account?
Oh, let me share the link with you. And I'm gonna, hold on, it's not letting me share it. Give me just a second and I'll type the link back in to share. That tiny URL link will take you to a page to create a Goalbook account. It should be hyperlinked in the chat, or you can copy paste from the chat. So for those of you that are having trouble, I've just chatted it in again. That tiny URL link. And when you click the link or copy paste into a new window, this is what you should see. Got it. Thank you. So folks are saying that link is not hyperlinked, so you do have to copy paste. Appreciate that. And for folks that have already registered, could you just give me a thumbs up in the chat that you've been able to successfully register? Or a thumbs up reaction, either way. Okay, I see the link is being blocked for some folks. All right, not allowing to copy paste. Okay. Thanks, Vicky. I appreciate the smile. Okay, somebody said that they had to type it in manually rather than copy paste, and it worked. Okay, so for those where you might need to type it in, I'm chatting it in again. Okay. Okay, chatting it in one more time. Thanks. I appreciate those that have given the thumbs up. If as you're exploring, let me know if there are questions. And then for those that are having trouble, I see some guidance that it had to be typed directly in it. Oh, and then for some, it's not working. Okay, for those where it is not working, we will need to follow up with you, and our support team will be the ones that will have to register for you. Since the rest of this time is work time, feel free to jump off if you're not able to log in. All right. Thanks, Mrs. Bradley. So I see you chatted in a link as well, an alternate link for folks to try to register. And I clicked on it and it took me to the page that everyone should see. So I appreciate that. Okay. I am going to chat in the link that was just shared because that seems to be working rather than the tiny URL. Individual schools will not be. Oh, Roxanne, I see your question. Your school's not appearing on the dropdown. So can you select another campus for now, and then I will make note to get it corrected to your campus? Thank you. Okay, I'm seeing more thumbs up now. So it looks like this alternative link is working better. And it's possible for some of you, there was a pop-up blocker for tiny URL. So I apologize. So I've chatted in the link that seems to be working. Great, thank you. Okay, for folks where your school wasn't listed, I'm making note. so that we can make some corrections and changes. Thanks for letting me know. Okay. Okay. Thank you for letting me know the campus is not listed. Making note, Olympian High was not listed. Okay. Got it. I'm seeing that some of you had to manually type in your campus if that was an option. Okay. So some of you were able to click on a different campus and then type in your own campus. Appreciate that guidance. All right. Now that I feel like a good amount of us are in the tool, we have about 19 minutes left in this session. Please use the rest of this time to explore. Oh, yes, I can provide the link again. There it is. Please use the rest of this time to explore Goalbook. I know there were some of you that wanted to explore the vocational area and present levels. And as you have questions, just feel free to chat them in. Or you can unmute. All right. I see a lot of folks were able to get in. I think most of us appreciate the group effort and that. I also see some folks are having to jump off, so I've gone ahead and put in the chat the survey for our session time this afternoon. So you'll see a bit.ly link for the survey. I can also share it on the big screen as well. All right. So the closing survey for today is up on the screen. You don't have to do this right now if you're still exploring the tool. We have some time left, but wanted to put this up here before other folks jumped off. The survey gives us feedback on how to best support you for this coming school year. So appreciate you taking the time to fill it out. It's just a couple questions. And I will chat it in again. It does look like this one is hyperlinked. Okay. Crystal, I do see your chat. And so I'm just gonna make note that you're having issues with your email so that I can follow up with you. All right. So we have about 10 minutes left. If there are questions while you are exploring the tool, please let me know. If you do have to jump off, the survey link has been chatted in and is on the screen. All right. I see the question about strategies and assessments being printed, or is it all digital? Because I still have the homepage up, I think it would be easier to show you here. So for resources that you can find, and I'll just go to Madison's student folder. For resources that you can find on strategy pages, such as the comparing and contrasting, you will see that there are digital and print options. So when there's a download button, that gives you the PDF and Word document option. And then with the Open with Google, this gives you the ability to open on your Google Drive and share as a Google assignment with a student. So most of our resources have both options, and that this is for strategies and assessments.